You're watching New Car Spin. This is the 2021 Volvo XC60 T8 Recharge, meaning that this port right here is actually a J1722 or 1772 level 2 electric vehicle port, so that you can actually charge this car in an EV parking spot. However, this is not an EV. This is actually a hybrid. It's what you would know as a plug-in hybrid. And basically the badging is right here, and it says T8 all-wheel drive recharge. Now, I'm going to go over this car in a bit of a nerdy way because I've actually owned an S60, which is the sedan version of this, with the hybrid power, and I'm going to explain this thing down to the nitty-gritty. So this one actually has air suspension. You can tell because we have the buttons right here to raise and lower the suspension. Back here though, we have a storage area, a 12 volt, what you call it, outlet that nobody uses anymore. Down here we have storage for our cable, which is much better than the sedan, but there is no spare tire. We have an air tank here for the air suspension, front and rear. We have a fixed kit right there for your flat tire, our battery, for the consumables. And of course, I have stuff back here just to show you how large it is, because sometimes it's hard to shoot a trunk like that and give you an idea for the depth. We have a power trunk. You can close and lock. Boom. All right, now let's get to the back. Show you this real quick, and then we're going to drive it. So this color is called Denim Blue. The interior color is escaping me right now. We have an air vent back here. Let's go ahead and hang my jacket there on the jacket hook. Very, very European here. And this back seat's interesting because it does fold down. It's very nice, supple leather, right? Full access, 60/40 split, and the biggest part is right here. Built-in booster seats. And that's pretty cool. I don't know exactly why it doesn't have heated seats. If it doesn't have heated seats in the rear, is it because of the booster seats? Let me know if you know. Let me put that headrest up. All right. Now this interior looks really nice. It is because this is the Inscription trim. And Inscription gives you chrome trim around the windows, chrome trim in the back. It comes with a certain look that the R-Design version wouldn't come with. The R-Design would basically be blacked out and have different wheel look. And here for 2021, instead of it saying Inscription on the side, it says Recharge because this is a T8. So I'm assuming if it was a T6, it would still say Inscription. However, for Momentum models for 2021, it will still have the Inscription Recharge look on the outside. Kind of confusing, I know, but let's just dive into this particular vehicle. I don't want to confuse you guys. We do have a Bowers & Wilkins stereo, very nice. It's an expensive option, do it. When we get in here, all right, in here, there are subtle differences, but you'll see that there is no Inscription insignia on the doors. And there is this pad down here. That is a wireless phone charging pad. So they've moved some things around to accomplish that. I do have a video that I published just before this one about all the 2021 changes for all Volvo models, because it's pretty much standard across the line. Let's go ahead and get going. Turn the vehicle on. Of course, there's no sound because it is a hybrid. Let me get my seatbelt on. Okay. The first thing I do want to tell you is, as a hybrid, there is a motor up front, and then there is an electric motor on the rear axle. Actually, let me get out and show you this. It'll be easier. Pop the hood, do that old jazz. All right. Hood release is right here. All right, so while the engine's up front and the electric motor's in the rear, you have to wonder where is the battery? Well, this is the Scalable Product Architecture Platform, so SPA, and it's used on the XC90, S90, V90, XC60, S60, XC60, and I believe even the XC40, which is their tiny, tiny SUV. So this covers their wagon, their SUVs, their sedans, and basically engine up front, electric motor at the rear, and the battery is actually in the tunnel. The transmission tunnel is utilized for this 11.4 kilowatt hour battery. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's up just above 11. And the battery sits in the tunnel and goes to just about basically where between the front and rear seats here. So there is no drive shaft on the T8. There is a T6 model, which is all-wheel drive as well, but it has no electric motor, so the drive shaft goes through and powers the rear wheels. This is the T8, so even though it is still all-wheel drive, the power goes to the rear differently. All right, here we go. So that is your T6 engine, which is a supercharged and turbocharged 4-cylinder. And this one is different in the T8 in one way, not only because you see all the hybrid powertrain here, but because this actually has what Volvo developed in 2001, or actually launched in 2001, or announced, however you want to put it, at the Geneva Motor Show. And they call it the ISG, which is the internal starter generator. So there's no alternator on here. In fact, there's no auxiliary belt that's pushing the condenser or the compressor for the AC, and it's electric. So the AC compressor is electric. Obviously there's electric power steering. There's no real like suck coming off this engine on the T8 version, because even the air conditioning is electric, just like your refrigerator. However, this ISG, integrated starter generator, is actually between the flywheel and the bell housing of the transmission, and that starter generator replaces the alternator and the starter motor, and it's basically a very good catalyst for getting the vehicle off the line as it starts. It's similar to the Mercedes-Benz EQ system or the e-torque hybrid version in the Ram and Jeep models, or even the Audi models that have the new hybrid system as well. It's the way things are going, and it's not really just for efficiency, it's also for better power delivery. And here, when this vehicle starts, there is no starter sound. It's the engine is just on or off. So it's a very good combination of noise. Now, go look at my 2021 Volvo changes video to tell you everything that's different about Volvo for 2021. I got to get in this thing and start driving it because I know you want to see. The biggest thing I didn't talk about in that 2021 video is the top speed limiter. So there is a top speed limiter now. Let me get my seatbelt on again. Okay. So as a hybrid one, this one's a little different. You don't have your traditional gear shift, gear stick. You have this. You just pull back on it twice. Vehicle goes into drive. We have an electronic parking brake that automatically disengages, auto hold, which is good for the drive-through, and then a drive mode, which puts it into different modes. I'll show you that in a minute. So as we go off in electricity. Very silently, very effortlessly, very smooth. No complaints, right? And then you'll see down here in the tachometer, there's like a lightning bolt, which stands for electricity, and then a oil drop, which stands for the engine. So right now we're using electricity, but if we put our foot down, now the engine's on, and now you get more power. And what people don't realize is that this Volvo has 400 horsepower combined. So 313 up front and 87 to the rear with the electric motor. And what happens is you have really, they're really managing the engine more than they are managing the electric motor here. And the hardest part is obviously synchronizing the engine with the power of the extremely interesting setup of the drivetrain they have here. This is definitely the most cutting edge, latest vehicle I've driven. So we'll wait for that guy to go or figure it out, whatnot. Gives me time to explain what this thing can do. So with 400 horsepower, we can just launch this vehicle and we'll go ahead and get on the freeway when I've got plenty of room here because I'm going to need it. We have an air suspension, and the air suspension makes this thing feel like you're kind of riding on a moose. It does a very good job leveling it out, just like a Range Rover would. However, you also have electronic controlled dampers that stiffen or provide more supple ride. But the air suspension only lifts or lowers. It doesn't change that ride quality like the dampers do. So what happens is you kind of get like this rocking effect, which is like a moose. And then when you put it in dynamic mode and the car lowers down, it tightens up, but you still get this rocking effect. So to me, this $1,800 air suspension is probably not my liking, but I do like the fact that you can like raise it off-road if you needed to. However, the Bowers & Wilkins sound system is definitely to my liking. All right, so it's clear. Let's go for it. Foot down. All right, so you might think, well, that was kind of weak. And yeah, you might be right. Let's go ahead and go back to that same street. No one's on the road here, so turn. Yes. Okay, so we'll go back to that same street, and this time we'll put it in a different drive mode. So I'll explain to you what these modes are all about. Oh, look, there's a possum. That's a big possum. Why is he out in the middle of the day? Wow. Okay, so as we feather between the electric and gas motors, you'll see that the engine's on when that oil drop is a solid white color. When it's hollow like that, it means that the engine is off. So sometimes it can run, and you can basically force it to run by going over here and then putting it into charge mode. And then what's happening is the engine is actually charging the hybrid batteries so that you can gain range on the electric battery. Now, that's all interesting, but I don't really view this car as a hybrid for fuel efficiency. I view this as a hybrid for performance, and then all the little things that it does actually help you gain efficiency in the long run anyway. So let me turn that off. The deal is this T8 version versus the T6 version. The T8 version is like another 500 pounds roughly. So do you want to lug around 500 pounds all the time? That's basically 2.5 adults, or 1 adult, depending on where you live. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, there's a mode here to hold it. So if you're on a trip, you can place hold and it will reserve or retain the battery level until you get to where you're going, so you can drive in electricity. That's a very European thing, because you can drive between towns and then you can get home, and then when you get to a city, you can be in the city on EV and you can get past all the congestion charges and things like that. So we don't have that in the US yet, or for now, thankfully. But when we do, this kind of car, especially when they ban internal combustion engines pretty soon in all cities and states, this car will be able to pass with flying colors. So charge, hold, those are the different modes for the hybrid system. Otherwise, the default is hybrid. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to change this car, push down on here, and I could use the wheel to change the different modes. Constant all-wheel drive is great for snow and rain. Even though it is all-wheel drive all the time, constant all-wheel drive ensures that the motors are always in sync, and it's not like there's an issue with it. It's just that you will always get power evenly. Power starts the engine, changes the tack, lowers the vehicle. You can see the lowering icon that was on there. I feel the car lowering. And now what's going to happen is the supercharger will be on full force to the front wheel drive aspect of it, because the engine only powers the front wheels. And then the electric motor will power the rear wheels. And then what we can do here is we can also go ESC Sport mode. And that will basically detune the safetiness of the traction control, although it won't completely turn it off. So we will still have some sort of nanny going on. You cannot disable that here in this Volvo, but there are other things I can show you. Okay, so floor down. Oh, that was traction control. And it immediately sounds throatier, and we're definitely a higher speed sooner. And just the torque, like people that have Teslas, have videos of people like just shocked by the amount of torque that thing's putting off. And basically this kind of has that same feeling. You just do not expect it, and it doesn't match what you're hearing from the engine up front. Let's go ahead and get off. Now, there is another mode where you can charge the vehicle, and that's beyond just the regenerative braking. You have additional regenerative braking here. If you pull back on the paddle, the D turns into a B, and that's basically engine braking, but it's from the from the combination of the internal starter generator generating power, and it's also from the regenerative brakes generating power in the not the brakes themselves, but the electric motor in the rear doing some slowing down of the vehicle and recharging the batteries. So we've got power mode, we've got regen going on, and then I can also hit charge. Now when you hit charge, the performance is subdued a little bit, but if I put my foot down, oh yes, just look at those numbers fly. Like, passing power in this thing is incredible, and that's with charge mode on. So if I turn charge mode off and then I put it back into drive, but we're still in power mode. Okay, so passing power, foot down, go. So here we have a vehicle that definitely throws down some good power, but we're also very comfortable. And I think that's, yes, it's a combination of this air suspension and these great seats, but I think that when you look at the XC60 or even any of these Volvo models that have this hybrid system, you're getting like multiple versions of the same vehicle in one. So we've got the power, and if you wanted to, you can actually do something even better. You can get a Polestar tune on this vehicle, which will increase the horsepower even more. So let's go ahead and make our left here. Okay, so there is a detent on the gas pedal as well, the accelerator, so that when you push the pedal all the way down and then push it past the detent or that click, you do get complete full horsepower. So I usually don't do that because I never really want to do the kick down. I just want to accelerate in the same gear. But from here, I'll show you some of the passing abilities that we have. So this guy's going to get on like a turtle or not. And it's just effortless to pass people. And from this perspective, this car is just bonkers insane, because there is a Polestar version of this, but if you can get this car, which is, this one's stickered at $71, the Polestar version is also base priced at $71. It has gold seat belts, Brembo brakes, and 415 horsepower. But if you get this car, which starts at a lower price, you can get the Polestar tune, which then puts you at 413 horsepower. So you can get even more power, and then it changes the tuning of the engine and the transmission and everything. And my S60 had the Polestar tune, and wow, it was remarkable in its delivery. But I didn't get that vehicle for fuel economy, and I'm not really measuring fuel economy in this one. I might do a road trip in it just to show you what that's like. But I think what I'd rather do is go onto this toll lane and find out what the biggest change is for 2021, and that would be the speed limiter. So Volvo decreed that top speed of 112 miles an hour shall be made on all vehicles around the world, all their models going forward, and they started with 2021, and this is also that model. So now I have a 2020 S90, and it's a T6, but it doesn't have the same limit as this. This limit on this vehicle, I think, is insane because it's too slow, especially here in Texas. And I just want to illustrate that for you. But I also want to say, if you get the Polestar tune, and I'm not sure if it can, but I really think they should do it, is the Polestar tune should eliminate that limiter. Obviously, you're paying for that, so there should be some way to remove that limit, and I think Polestar should be that option. Okay, so we're coming up on traffic here, and I just want to kind of put it back into hybrid mode, go down. Now we could also do pure mode, which is just electricity, and we can actually do that here on the freeway. We're in it right now. So we're at 72 miles an hour, and this thing is electric. And this is not like a full EV, and it's 11 point something kilowatt hour battery. And basically you're able to drive this for up to like 22 miles full electric range if you wanted to. Or you could do what I do and just go between the standard hybrid mode and the power mode and let that battery and that electric motor give you a performance boost rather than just give you an ability to drive around without using the engine. But that's the thing about this car. You have all these different options, so depending on what type of buyer you are, if you're a performance hybrid buyer, you could buy this. If you're a hybrid buyer, you could buy this. If you're a efficiency hybrid buyer, you could buy this. But the most interesting thing is if you buy this, you get two things. You get a federal tax incentive of $5,400 and change. I think it's $5,419, which when you lease this car, Volvo puts that up towards your cap production cost, which means your T8 costs you a little bit, just a little bit more to lease than your T6. And the price difference between the sticker on those is like 10 grand. And all of a sudden with that federal tax incentive, that difference goes away. So that's quite remarkable, and it's very tempting. But however, you will have a hard time finding a T8 model of any version of Volvo because they are so popular and hard to keep in stock, and most of them are ordered. So definitely look to get a T8 and drive one if you can before you make any decisions. But if it's a financial decision, the T8 definitely helps out with that, especially on a lease. Now, the other thing that happens is you actually get to drive around, and if you were to park in a certain building or place that had EV-only parking, you are an EV that plugs in. So you actually get to park in EV parking spaces. Whether or not the security guard understands that, the fact is you have a charge port up front and you can plug your car in and charge it. That makes it an EV under the law. So here in Texas, you're able to go to Whole Foods, for instance. The Whole Foods main office is in Austin, Texas. You could go there and park in the EV-only parking part of the garage. All right, we're gonna get on the toll lane here, and then from here I'll show you top speed because I think it's better that way. Oh, there's an XC60. I don't know which year that is. That's a T6. So it's basically the same but a different powertrain, and they don't really make this car stand out. This car is just definitely a wolf's in sheep's clothing because it seems so benign, it seems so harmless, yet when you want to open it up you get full power. So we're gonna put it back in power mode. All right, and we don't have paddles, which is okay. This is not a CVT automatic. That's it, 111. It starts to slow down at 112. We're pegged at 112. My foot's hard down. So, will a Polestar tune benefit people who, like, I could hardly pass that truck. That's why speed is really important here in Texas, especially around these huge trucks. Like, if they're spewing rocks and gravel, or you're behind them in the rain, and I mean, obviously you wouldn't be going this fast in the rain, but you need to get around them. The longer you take going near them, especially if they hit debris on the road, you're basically a sucker for punishment on that respect. I would not want to be near any of those big trucks. All right, so we're going to get off at the next exit, and then trying to figure out what else I can explain to you about this vehicle from a driver's perspective. I've done another video on all the 2021 changes, so go look at that. That's the video I posted before this one. Go to my channel, go look at the list of my videos, and the one before this one, go watch that. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do that, because I publish videos all the time on all new cars. I get new cars from motor manufacturers all the time. I am an accredited automotive journalist, and I do not get paid for these reviews. The only way I get paid is through YouTube advertisements. So the more views, the better. And obviously, subscribers don't pay the bills, and subscribing is free. And if you don't subscribe, you just miss out on all my latest reviews, and well, not really reviews, reports. And you also miss out on anything new that's going to happen. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in knowing about maybe Texas road trips or vehicles that are that are basically cutting edge and new, like this one. So let me turn traction control back on. All right, and essentially I'll find an exit here somewhere. This is we call this the Concrete Canyon. Speed limit 75. And there we go, Webb Chapel. What is this guy doing? Come on. Get off the freeway. He's on his phone. Wow, this guy. You do not exit freeway at 75, at 45 and a 75 and check your messages while you're doing it. He's still on his phone checking messages. Wow. That's a pile up waiting to happen. All right, so here we are. She shall be punished. 2 weeks at the Waldorf Astoria. All right. I think I'm going to end it here because the crazies are out, obviously. And let me show you the window sticker. Window sticker's in the glove box. Window sticker says recharge inscription and price $71,340. Trying to see if there's, I mean, beyond the air suspension, I think you can also get the Polestar Tune. I don't know if this has rear heated seats. It has the heated steering wheel and the heated windshield wiper blades, but I don't see anything. Advanced package, metallic paint. Oh yeah, it has the air quality advanced sensor. That's basically this app right here. So the app is connecting. It's basically going to measure the microns of the particulate matter in the vehicle inside the cabin, not outside. And with that, it will also give you a reading. So there's a filter in here that's an option, and that was that $250 option that will filter out PM 2.5, particulate matter at 2.5 microns, which is what, an N97.5 mask, essentially. So it's not quite a HEPA filter, but it's very close to a HEPA filter. Let's get on the freeway. So the cabin in here is always very good. You can see it's 1 micron. I guess that means micron per cubed meter cube, which is 369, like almost 10 cubic feet. That's good to have. The best thing in here, though, is definitely the Bowers & Wilkins stereo. It's definitely a high-end system, and you get every penny out of it that you pay for it. And here we are now back in hybrid mode, and now it automatically defaults to electric. So you can see the engine is off because that gas, that little oil drop is empty. It's hollow. If I was to put my foot down, the engine turns on. Now that seamless engine capability is from that integrated starter generator that they have between the bell housing of the transmission and the flywheel of the engine. And that's, again, only for the front engine. So is there torque steer? Yes, when you're in power mode and you're not quite used to it, that torque steer will happen. It's weird because when you put your foot down off the line, on the rear, there's kind of like a torque steer, and then when the engine's on and then the front you get torque steer, it's like it's counteracting itself. So it's doing a lot of work as it's accelerating hard. But I think the best part of this hybrid is just the hybrid aspect of the performance side of it, because you can't get enough of that. It's something like 480 pounds-feet of torque, or foot-pounds of torque. And you can get a larger 3-row version of this. It's called the XC90. I've done a review on that as well. And I've done a video on my own S60 T8, a road trip on that. So if I do a road trip in this, you will see it next. It'll be the next video after this. And I'm still contemplating whether I should do that. I do have 3/4 of a tank of fuel, and I would like to use it up because today is Sunday and the car goes back tomorrow. And well, I'd like to use all the fuel if possible. So maybe we'll go to Oklahoma and the state line, and I'll place a bet at the casino there. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Oh, something cool is if you adjust the heads-up display here, and you'd make that adjustment for you, and then maybe your wife or your spouse gets in the vehicle and has their adjustment, and they put it to the memory here. The memory will actually know your settings for the heads-up display. So if you have to change the angle of it and you change your seat position in memory, someone else comes in and hits it, it changes for them, which is really, really cool. And then you have your profiles in the vehicle too, so you can actually have different settings for the vehicle. And I'm talking about settings for the stereo and the navigation. Everything can be set individually for each driver profile. And that's in addition to the key. So you have one key, but then you can choose between different drivers, which is really cool. So you can never... The technology in here basically is so advanced that they basically won an award from Ward's Automotive for the best automated anti-collision driving system, things like that. So they even beat out Tesla, and I can tell you that's possible because it has large animal avoidance. It can obviously keep you in your lane, so there's the road mitigation and the braking and things. What I'll do is I'll turn on cruise. I just hit this and I press that, and I can adjust my distance here. And if I go here, boom, because of the advanced package, I have pilot assist. So as I hit this traffic, the vehicle will also follow the vehicle in front of me, and it will actively do that when this is green. When that steering wheel is green, it will do it. And somehow it knows not to follow the vehicle when it changes lanes. But it's now following that vehicle. It wants me to hold on to the steering wheel. So it's going to steer itself. Look at that. Look at that. Another lane changer. And another lane changer. We'll change lanes too, actually. All I do is signal, move over, and it's acquired that Ford Focus Escape. They're slowing down. We are slowing down. Yep. It's good stuff. Wants me to apply the steering, so I'll go ahead and put my hands on the steering wheel. It's actually maintaining that by itself. So if you're on a long road trip and then you come into a city like Dallas or Waco and you end up, or even Austin, which is really terrible with traffic, and you just kind of don't want to be fatigued by all this stop and go nonsense, you let the autopilot take over. It's not called autopilot, it's called pilot assist. And yeah, you get to maintain your mental well-being here by letting the car handle it for you. And you know, if I'm too close, I can always add distance to that. And if we're in like a situation like this, it slows down, it accommodates. Okay, now it moves out, so it's accelerating. And then we do want to exit, so we'll go ahead and exit here. That's definitely an SRT. It's got to be. All right, so do I take a road trip or not? That is the big question. I would say, oh yes, these seats are fantastic for it. In the Inscription models, you can always get well, this has vented seats, but you can always get massage seats. I don't know why this car doesn't have that, but I know it's an option on even the Volvo XC60 sedan. So the S90, XC90, you have massage on the Inscriptions as an available option. And here we are in the XC60, and overall a really good car. So I think I'm going to end it here. I hope I answered all your questions, kind of gave you a really good experience of what this vehicle is like. The hybrid aspect is obviously very efficient. I don't even have a charger at home, and I'm able to charge the vehicle while I drive it, so I don't really have to freak out like I would if I had an EV, which if you see my Chevy Bolt review, you'll see that it's impossible to live with an EV when you don't have charging at home. So if you're in a condo like I am with a carport with no access to electricity through the HOA or anything, you really can't do it. But if you want to be green and efficient, you could do a plug-in hybrid like this that is able to charge itself, and you have all the best of all the worlds, and the tax incentives and everything else that goes along with it, and the latest of the newest of everything. So keep that in mind, and when you're on your hunt for your next vehicle, do you get the hybrid version? I've driven several hybrids. The Toyota ones don't make much sense to me. The Volvo one makes 100% sense to me, and I've already owned one, so that should tell you enough there. What else can I say? Yeah, I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching. Have a great December, and see you in the next video. Ciao.